Worn out starter on a 99 to 06 Chevy or GMC product gets pretty common. You get a click sound, you have good battery voltage and connection, but you get a solid click down at the starter, so that's a good sign you got a worn out starter. So in this video I'm showing you how I went about replacing this starter on this GMC Yukon. First thing I do is take off the heat shield on the solenoid so that I have better access to the wires, the cables up there attaching to the starter. That's what that looks like. And then I'm going to use a screwdriver and retract the little tab on this oil level sensor here on the side of the engine. And then go ahead and take out the starter bolts, 14mm. And then there's a little dust shield or inspection cover to the transmission that allows you to manipulate the starter a little more if you remove it. So you take out that little bolt there with the 10mm, and then you'll be doing yourself a favor if you don't fight the tire and give yourself access to the starter area a little bit. So taking off the wheel and the inner fender liner, and a little harness that goes on top there. Once you have that peeled back, you can see the starter through the side. Still not great access, but it's more access. And you can't pull the starter forward enough after you take out the starter bolts. You can't push it forward towards the radiator enough to clear and to pull it out, because this battery cable to the starter it pulls on that. And so you got to use whatever magic assortment of wrenches, sockets, whatever you have to pull off that nut and then take that cable off, and then you'll be able to get that starter down and pass things. And then the final cable is easier to take off when it's out. 8mm socket will take off that little nut, and this is your signal wire from your starter or your ignition switch. And then on the new starter, taking off the nut and lock washer, and then I'm going to put that signal wire back on. And you want to kind of position that wire so that it angles or point, when you tighten it up, it points towards the fender well a little bit. It kind of angles out towards the right side passenger side tire. And then I'm going back in with the starter. Make sure you remember to put the inspection cover dust shield back in. And then tighten those all up. That little one's 30 inch-pounds. The starter bolts are 37 foot-pounds. You can see I'm being pretty technical about it there with my impact gun. And then you route the harness so it makes a Y around the bottom of the starter, and then plug in that oil level sensor wire again. And then this is a real treat, getting this cable back on from the battery to the starter. I'm just using whatever I can find, short wrenches, weird sockets, little things, gadgets, whatever you can make to get in there and get on that nut and tighten it up, little minuscule turns at a time until you get it tight. And then I'm orienting myself on the old starter of how that heat shield went back on, and then fishing that in there and putting that back on. That protects the solenoid and the starter from that hot exhaust that's sitting right above it. You want to do this project when it's cold. Obviously, if you have a bad starter, it's probably going to be, but if for some reason you have one on the way out and you're doing it, make sure you cool things down before you start this project. Wheels back on, fender liners back in. Double check my connections here, make sure they're all clean and stuff before putting them in finally. If you have a 6-point socket, you'll be doing yourself a favor so you don't round out that little 8mm head that holds that battery in place. And that fixed the problem on this one. So I hope you find that helpful if you decide to tackle this project on your own. Thanks for watching. I hope you like and subscribe.